Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 320 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. It's been a couple of weeks. There was a little bit of a break, and then before that, there was another break. So, there's been, off and on episodes, and I'm back. Hopefully, I'm not going to be traveling or having too many interrupting meetings, so hopefully we can get back to, a regularly scheduled cadence. Every week an episode goes out. That's my hope. Anyways, so good to have you here. Gonna be live hacking on some Firefox stuff. Without further ado, let's get started. Let me share my screen. Hold on. Boop. So today is April 5th, 2023. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I say this at the start of every stream. I've said it for years, and the reason for that is because it doesn't. No plan does survive breakfast. In particular, I want to convey that this stream is not super prepared in advance. We are capturing software development in the raw, meaning that things can go sideways, things can go wrong. My stream might suddenly fall over. My microphone might stop working. The patch that we're working on might end up being the wrong solution, and we might end up getting stuck on something. Who knows? But that's okay. That's all part of the fun, is that we're trying to capture real software development, the real sort of, what actually would occur if this camera was off and I wasn't streaming. The second thing to know is that the agenda that we're looking at is something that you have access to. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, check out the details section over there. Same with YouTube, the video description down there. There's a link to the agenda down there and on diode.zone. And for the folks on Twitch, it's down in the channel details. There's a link to the agenda, and it's got all these handy dandy links. And as we fill this stuff out, it will sync, and that's, you'll be able to click and follow along. What now? Oh, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what we're working on today. For the past couple of months, we've been working on this Windows jump list thing, and I'm going to have to shelve it just for today because some higher priority things have come up. That Windows jump list thing has kind of been something I've been working on the side while we've been streaming, but I need to focus on this Migration Wizard thing. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, the Migration Wizard, the new Migration Wizard, is something that we've been working on for a little while now, along with some students from Cal State LA. We've got some great students working with us on improving the Migration Wizard. If you're not familiar with the Migration Wizard, let me show you what the old one looks like first, so you can see what we're improving. So this is the old existing Migration Wizard, and it allows you to I'm gonna import from Opera, and these are the things I'm gonna import from, and it's this very I don't think this has changed much in over a decade. It's very sort of dated design. This is the sort of thing that you would have built out and in the Windows XP era. This would have made a lot more sense. But we have moved on. And so the new Migration Wizard looks significantly different and more modern, and it tries to streamline the process a bit. It's actually also more responsive in that the old Migration Wizard does a lot of how do I explain this sort of succinctly? The migration backend used to be fully synchronous, so it would do synchronous disk reads, and then that's bad for performance. And so a bunch of it was moved off of the main thread to do asynchronous disk reads off of the main thread. That's good. But the old Migration Wizard wasn't built to handle asynchronous operations. And so there's a bunch of really silly stuff in the old Migration Wizard. There's something called spin resolve, and what it does is it basically blocks and spins the event loop on the main thread. We spin a nested event loop while we wait for a promise to resolve, because the old Migration Wizard wasn't used to promises didn't exist when this stuff was first written. And so this get source profiles, for example, which is a method on a migrator that goes and gets okay, what profiles are available for this other browser? That's an asynchronous operation, and we use spin resolve to effectively block until we have a result, and then we continue, which is terrible. Like nested event loops are something you should avoid. We should avoid. And so I'll be happy when all of this stuff kind of goes away. It's like kind of like a needlessly complex and also pretty ancient and difficult to work with piece of the UI. I'll be happy when it's gone. And so this is the new migration wizard. It's in my opinion, much more attractive. It's also we're trying to offer more streamlined, a more streamlined experience. So instead of choosing your browser in the first page and then choosing the profile in the next page and then choosing what resources to import on the page after that, we're kind of putting them all into like a single page where you can like all of the browsers and the profiles for those browsers are listed in the same list here, and you can like choose one or the other, and then the resources that you can import from are all listed below, and then you can just like once you're done that, you just hit import and it's one and done. This is one variation. There's another variation that we're tinkering with where instead of showing you all those checkboxes, because like if the user has a lot of resources that we could import from, let me find one. Yeah, like there's a theory that users who have selected a browser for which there might be a lot of resources, because we're going to add more. We're planning on adding like importing credit card or like payment method information from other browsers that you may have saved, and address autofill data that you may have saved. So we want to offer those as things that we can import. This is going to become longer and longer, this list. Eventually we want to be able to import add-ons as well, and like try and find Firefox equivalents and put them in the same spot as you might be used to from your other browsers. So this list is going to get kind of long, and instead of overwhelming users with checkboxes, which is generally a bad idea, as much as us, I myself being a bit of a nerd, I enjoy checkboxes, but like I think it's well understood that your typical user like doesn't want to be overwhelmed by choice. They just want to get a job done. And so the idea is, instead of overwhelming a user with all of those checkboxes for something like all of those resources, we show something like this, where it's like, okay, by default, the user can import all available data. And if they want to change their mind, if it's like, okay, well, I don't want to bring in history, they can like expand this and unchoose history or something and then just import. So that's something we're tinkering with as well. So that's like the high level of the new migration wizard. And this is working and available in Nightly right now. I just landed a pref earlier today to turn this on as the default migration mechanism on Nightly. And it should be in tomorrow's build if the patch doesn't bounce. So you'll be able to use this on tomorrow's build. And if you find bugs, if you're interested in helping us out, let me actually let me do a thing here. New bug migration. So this is where you can file bugs, and I am the triage owner of migration, so I'll be watching everything that comes in. I'm going to remember these values as a bookmarkable template. So that means that if you have a Bugzilla account, see bugs in the new migration wizard, file them here. So you can follow this link, and that will get you into a pre-populated like Bugzilla bug filing UI. So you can say like, okay, here's the issue, and then we'll see them. So yeah, if you're interested, we would love to get people testing this stuff. That's why we've turned it on in Nightly. We're going to do some experiments in 1.13 on the release channel, just for some smaller populations, just to make sure that like we are getting similar sort of progression, similar success rates of like completing migration between the old wizard and the new wizard. We can do that now, which is really awesome. We can like start using the scientific method, which we like a lot. I like that a lot. Instead of just throwing stuff out there and hoping and assuming it's better, we want to actually measure and compare and contrast. So we're going to be doing some experiments in 1.13, and then we can make some decisions on like what variation we want to ship in hopefully 1.14. That's my goal personally, is like I'd like this thing to be out there in the wild on release in 1.14. So fingers crossed. Right. So what are we hoping to work on today? Well, one of the things that we want to add to the migration wizard is the ability to not only import from other browsers, but also to import from files. And I've got a patch applied here that allows you to import, say, for example, passwords from a CSV file. So for example, if I choose, I had like example passwords. Yeah, there are no passwords in that CSV file, or like there were none that were added or updated. But like, I have a patch that does that here, and I would like to. I put that up for review, and I've got some review feedback. I want to address that review feedback. That's the first thing. And the second thing I want to work on is we don't just want to be able to import from passwords from a CSV file. We want to be able to import bookmarks as well. Now, there's actually a pre-existing capability in Firefox for importing importing bookmarks from HTML, and it's kind of buried here in the library. And we're trying to sort of centralize importing data into this UI. So it's all kind of in one spot. If you're bringing stuff in, if you want to bring data into Firefox, we're hoping the right UI for it. Because who knows, we might add other things here. Maybe you want to import passwords from Bitwarden or from 1Password or from LastPass. We might end up adding different categories of things in here. And, there'll be challenges to that as well. Like, what if this list, if it gets like outrageously long, like that might be a problem. We might have to address that. But for now, we just want to add the ability to import from passwords from a CSV file or a TSV file. This will do both. And then the other one is like bookmarks from an HTML file. And there's a spec for it. I can show you what we've been looking at. So this is Figma. This is what we've been working on with the students. This is what a specification looks like whenever we're working on a new piece of user interface. And there's a page here for importing from a file. Whoops, is this like animated? How did that show up? So like passwords from CSV file. I believe that's what's shown here. Passwords from CSV file, yeah. And then you get the picker, you choose it. And if it's invalid, that's a thing. I need to be able to add an error message in the event that the file is not valid. So that's a bug that I need to address. If we're not able to read the file, maybe if there's an error in reading the file, I hadn't considered that. And then this was an interesting one. It's like checking file for passwords was like the state, and it's also saying importing passwords from up here. I just realized rereading the spec that like we might actually want to do some of this differently. The way that the patch currently is. Originally, I thought we could reuse the progress page that we have here, data imported successfully, but it looks like they want a different title. And they also import summary. They want like a link down there. We might have to build a separate page for this. For password import. Let's think about that a little bit. And then for HTML file, bookmarks from an HTML file, you select it, errors, and then importing bookmarks up here. View imported bookmarks. Okay, so this is, I think it's going to be a little bit different. I think I'm going to have to make some changes to the patch that we've currently got. Let's take a look at the patch that I currently added. And we can start making some changes. So I'd gotten some feedback from both Flawed and Catherine, my colleagues. Flawed is our resident expert on localization and strings, so that's what he was focusing on, was like, okay, here are the strings I would suggest. Here's how I would suggest structuring your strings for easier localization and better localization. And Catherine was digging into like how it actually works, like the underlying changes in the code base. So let's take a look at Flawed's feedback first. Oh, I see. So a lot of this behavior that we're doing here of importing passwords, like it's kind of, you don't see it here on macOS, but there's a title here for what kind of options. We're opening CSV documents, TSV documents, all files. Like, a lot of this is actually copied from About Logins, where there's also a place to import import from. I thought there was an import CSVs thing here. Where is that? Logins. About Logins. Credentials. Import. Sign on, management, file import enabled. Right. So I think it's disabled by default, which is interesting. Yeah, import from a file. And then you can import your passwords here. So I had taken some of the strings that are already used for like the file picker for things like CSV document, this filter, and this filter. And the title of the native file picker, which isn't shown here on macOS, and like Flawed is suggesting we actually migrate these rather than having our localizers relocalize stuff they've already localized, is we can migrate them, and save them some effort, which is a good idea. So yeah, we should try and write a migration for these. Okay, this is correct for English. Okay, so for this. Shown in the migration wizard after importing. This is correct for English, but let's make it in an explicit plural form as it helps us in Pontoon. Good question. So anytime we've got a quantity. So this is why I love having people like Flawed review this stuff, is I would never have considered this. In some languages, like in English, number, like new entries will be like an actual digit, like 3. And it's showing how many new passwords were added. 3 added. And that makes sense in English. But there are some locales where they'll have different strings based on the number. Like there's different ways of expressing numbers with like I'm not a language expert. There's terminology for this, but basically what we want to be able to do is have our localizers indicate, if the value is the numeral 1, then use this form. Otherwise, use this form if it's 2, because maybe there'll be a special rule for 2 or 3, and then if anything else, they'll use this. And so Flawed is saying, okay, well, we want to use an explicit plural form here. This is something I never would have caught myself, so good on Flawed. Same thing for this. So that's good. We can do that. And then Catherine's feedback is, let's go through that. Right. So that's a nitpick there. What do you think about appending these comments to the comment block for get file picker config so they appear in our rendered docs? Good idea. Get file picker config. Well, ideally, these type defs. So I agree. Like the reason I put file picker configuration here was I was hoping JSDoc would know to like pull this information in and expose these as types. So I might have to dig into how exactly JSDoc does type defs and how our Sphinx.js stuff converts that into our auto documentation. I have to look into that. To make sure I'm understanding these changes, these titles appeal on certain file pickers. For a Windows file picker, it may appear, but not for macOS. Yes, that is true. Yes, that is true. Why create another object for resource types on the selection page instead of reusing the displayed resource types? I'm a little confused by this. It's possible that I'm just missing something. This is something we might end up changing because of the fact that we might actually want a new progress page specifically for file import, for like password import and bookmarks import. So this might actually end up changing. How do I update a password when testing manually? I make a CSV file. I select that file. When trying to update a password, nothing happens. The password doesn't change. The new file value specified the second CSV file. There's no change to the password update. So maybe it didn't work. Like that's worth checking out whether or not like this stuff actually, the import from CSV actually works. Making sure that that's working properly. Okay, so that's all good feedback. What I'm gonna do is thanks for the reviews, all. Okay, Patenio and Flawed. I'll address your feedback and answer your questions in my next revision, for my next first, but I just realized that I might want to make some changes to better suit the specification. Some minor changes to my approach here to better suit the specification, and I'm going to link to the Figma document. So my next revision might have some I guess there's nothing else to explain there. So let me answer their questions now. I think it's a good idea. I think we definitely should find a way of getting these type defs rendered in our generated documentation. I'll look into how to do that. Okay. I'll keep it undone for now. Yeah, that's right. Yes, that's right. On macOS, it looks like the native file picker doesn't show titles anymore, but on Linux, on other platforms, a title is shown. So that answers that question. Yeah, this is something I might actually revisit in my altered approach. I split this out because with this revision's approach, there was a separation between the items that the user could select on the resource selection page and the resources that resource import progress states that might be displayed on the progress page. Thinking about this a bit more in relation to the new relation to the spec, I think I want to try doing it differently. I'm going to try to create a new page to this wizard specifically for file import to make all of this less confusing. Hopefully less confusing. Keep that open. Good question. This is the CSV file I've been testing with. Let's see here. Where's documents? Example.csv. What? Where did I go? What the world? What? Working with where did my text input go? Did I hit escape somehow? Where'd my comment go? Oh, yeah, here we go. And let's actually just verify that it does work. So if I get rid of this password, port data, password from CSV file. Example passwords. There, one is added. I'll probably want to create, that's a pretty simple one that just adds a password. If for, what does it create a password for? Example.com, if one doesn't already exist. I'll try to build out a, and include a .csv file that's a little more comprehensive. Say one file for adding and one file for adding and updating. And one file just for updating. Okay. And example passwords. I just want to make sure that this is like, it should just be like some nonsense stuff. Yeah. This is not a real password. It's not a real password, gang. That's not my real password to example.com. So if you were trying to scrape my passwords, you didn't get it. It's not a Xerte. The question from Jamie NK is, Moz Figma is always password protected. Any way it can be more open? I think the reason that the Figma is closed is because we don't have currently a great way of preventing abuse in Figma. Like, I don't think we've got a great way of preventing people from commenting and abusing. Like, we don't in Bugzilla, we've got the ability, for example, to quickly suppress spam accounts and whatnot. But I don't think we have a lot of that capability in Figma. At least that's my understanding for why we don't currently have Figma be open. There is a point at which, though, we might publish these documents in a static form. But right now, they're still like at the point where people can comment and whatnot. And there's not really a great way, I think, of combating abuse in our design documents. And from our past experience opening up design documents with commenting, that's a great way of getting a lot of abuse. Yeah, people coming in and just yelling at our UX designers. So where was I? Yes, should do that migration. Yes, we will do these things. Okay, so I'm going to leave some of these things undone for now. File not attached. Do it. Attach file. Grant permission. Okay, what are we going to do? So I want to investigate a new approach here, a slightly different approach, and that is adding a new page. Abuse? Nah, everyone knows people on the internet are always kind. Well, the thing is, a lot of people are kind, but it's just that and sometimes people decide that they take an open system, a participatory, like the internet has changed. There was this idyllic state back in maybe I'm looking at it through rose-tinted glasses, but like in the late 2000s, it would have been theoretically possible to have like our designs be in the open and for people to be generally, civilized. But, we've noticed over the years, as more and more people seem to be comfortable being on the internet and just creating noise and saying horrible things inside of comments and, being highly, highly abusive. So we've had to build out a lot of systems, like in Bugzilla, for example, because we want people to be able to contribute and collaborate with us in the open. But that there's a tension there because of bad actors who decide to take advantage of that openness to try and like create noise, to basically ruin it for everyone else. That's why also our transition to Matrix from IRC made a lot of sense. We were evaluating a lot of different options when we were transitioning away from IRC, and Matrix was selected. One of the strengths of Matrix, and it's not the only reason why it was selected, but I know that one of the reasons it was selected was because of the powerful moderation capabilities that we have. So that's important, right? Like, because the ecosystem you create for your software is a kind of like a reflection of yourself. We need to be able to tend our community and try and encourage collaborative, constructive discourse. We don't always have to agree on stuff, but when someone comes in and starts like cursing and swearing and abusing us, like, no, we don't tolerate that. It's just immediate ejection. No read-only Figma. Currently, no, because we're still commenting in this one. We're still having discussions in this Figma document, and I don't think there's a way for us to like have a version of it that is read-only. That doesn't have that without forking it. And then that's the other problem, is if you like create a copy of it, they'll go out of sync with one another, which is always a big headache. So we don't do that. Who knows? Someday we'll have a way of having our designs be more in the open. But for now, this is what we've got. We used to have like static, like HTML sites would be created with some specifications, and that was helpful, but there was no commenting capability, so we couldn't like sort of track changes. And also it's, that's a lot more difficult, I think, for us to quickly put together designs. Our Figma is great for having kind of a design system that you can deploy. There's so many Moz Google Docs that could be read-only, but are just behind a password wall. I mean, we have data security classifications on purpose. Data classifications. These are the levels in which we will like publish documents, and some of them are public. Some of them are very much not public. We make conscientious choices usually on which ones should be open and which ones should not. Not every document should is some documents will have like privileged information in it about like, I don't know, partnership details, details about like user data that is maybe aggregated from telemetry, but we don't want to publish because, it's potentially sensitive. Like, we make conscientious decisions about the information that is open and not. Can someone please not kill? That was not the right word. Kick Ironic Bulldog? That looks like some kind of spam. Anyways, I hope that answers your question. Like, we open the things that should be public. Like, I'll give you an example of a document that's quite public. This is a public document, like the Firefox Desktop bi-weekly meeting document, non-confidential. This is public. But we don't always make it writable from public. You tend to see password by default a lot. Oftentimes that's because they've been classified as confidential. That would be my explanation. I'm tempted to open your link, Jamie and Kay, but I might have access to it, and I don't want to put something that's confidential in front on the stream. All right, I'm getting distracted. Let's keep working on this. So, file migrators. We are going to let's start by creating a new page. migrationwizard.mjs. The way we create a new page, there are a couple of things that we need to do. Constants. Let's start by thinking about whether or not we can have a single page just for file import, or if we want something special for passwords and one for bookmarks. Notice that like the title changes from here to here as well. Is that, I don't think that's what we currently do for, oh, we do. Data imported successfully. We do update the title. Let's take a look at our design system. How does that work? Progress, partial progress, and then success. Data imported successfully. So the advantage of having a separate page is that, you know, we get a high degree of control and customization of what the user can, or what we can display inside of these like different states for passwords. But because these are so similar, we might just want like something generic that can be used for both passwords and bookmarks. Might we ever want to import, say, history? Yes. Yes. In fact, we can import history. Look, browsing history. Oh, do you mean by a file, though? Yeah, that's not a thing that I think most browsers export, is history. But that's a thing that's worth thinking about, exporting history from a browser so that we can import it. I don't think, for example, we have the ability to export. We can back up. Maybe there is a way. Choose file. History. What is this? Is this like JSON? Maybe there is a way of exporting and importing history. But this might also be bookmarks. I don't actually know. Backup and restore. Look at this. 425 items, 49 items, 13 items. I wonder if those are bookmarks or history. We'll have to look into that. But yeah, maybe someday we can export and import history. Or even cache. I'm not sure what you mean, Jamie NK. Okay. I'm getting distracted. Let's keep going. I'm going to create a single page. And it's called like file import progress. Oh, spelled that wrong. And we're going to put a page maybe in here. Like this. Page file import progress. Is that the right? Just file import progress. Import. Yeah, okay. File progress. File page file progress. And then we'll call this the file progress header, but we won't put anything in it just yet. And then thankfully this is a class rather than ID, so we can keep using this. And then passwords from file, password new, passwords updated. There's another done button here. What do we use the done button for? The done button. I see. We might want to make that a class so that we can have multiple done buttons. For now, I'm just going to get rid of the ID in the file progress case. Let's also get rid of these. We're going to get rid of the, we're going to revert this stuff. Displayed resource types. We're going to get, well, we might actually need to keep this. It's good to have these like constants. Displayed resource types. But maybe we want to split these out into displayed file resource types, just to differentiate. then maybe then we don't need this selectable resource types distinction, because these are the same now. So we could revert a lot of what we did for some of these tests. Like, for example, we can get rid of this and we can revert the change to browser do migration. Just make this displayed resource types. There's another one as well that we made inside of Safari permissions. So this can be displayed resource types. And then was there another one in our documentation here? And then down here, okay. And then over here, yeah, in this test, let's find and replace, because I think there's a few of these. And then any others? Whoops. I think that's all of them. Yeah, okay. So we don't need that constant anymore. We've got our new progress page. To make it easier to sort of visualize this, I think I'm going to add a story for the page. File progress. What was the name of the page? It was just file import progress. File import progress. Progress. Let's say in progress would be passwords from file. And maybe this can be, well, no, passwords from file. And then no need for a key here. But we might need a title. Page progress title. And I think the title should be importing passwords. Might have to send that from the parent. Is that how we'd want to do it? Well, let's do it that way for now. Then partial file progress. We're gonna change the state to be similar to this, except that, oh no, because there can't be partial. For file progress, you're either you're done or you're not done. You're in progress or you're done. There's no partial, unlike other import states or importing from a browser where like we might be done importing bookmarks, but we're not yet done importing history or something. File progress success. Oh man, just file success. And then we're going to show two different success messages. One is passwords new. And then the other one is passwords updated. And the false, and the message will be 2 added, 14 updated. All right, let's take a look and see what this looks like. I'm gonna guess this is gonna be pretty broken, but let's take a look. So if I'm gonna reboot, import cache. You want to import the cache. Jamie NK is talking about importing what, like the network cache? Which cache? There's so many caches. Which cache are you talking about, Jamie NK? And is Storybook running? No. So we have to run the Storybook. Files, web pages. So the network cache. I think that's what you're talking about. So importing the network cache from another browser. Could you do that? Maybe. Should you? Good question. The cached pages, the cached scripts, may have been served to you for a particular user agent. So for example, if you go to example.com in Safari, you might get served up different content because you're on Safari, because I don't know, maybe Safari doesn't have available some web API yet. And then if we import that cached page in Firefox, you'd get the same experience because it would have I can see some problems importing the caches from the other browsers. I don't know if it'd be worth it. I suspect there'd be problems. That's just a hunch, though. I'm not a... that's not something I can fully back up. Okay, Migration Wizard, file progress. So we need to have a title here. Checking file for passwords. Yeah, this is fully broken, but we're almost there in that we can maybe take the opportunity to handle setting this page. So this page is called file import progress, meaning we have to handle setting up that page here in state case migration wizard constants pages. Again, what's it called? File import progress. This dot on showing file import progress. Break. Now I'm being a little inconsistent because I'm waffling between file progress and file import progress. Maybe I should be more consistent. In the end, file. I think that's probably best. And then over here in Migration Wizard, we'll call it file import. File import progress. File import progress header. And then over here in constants. There. Okay, that's not hugely important, but now we're a little more consistent. And now we're going to create a new method called onShowingFileImportProgress, which will be very similar to onShowingProgress. So we can actually just copy this for now. onShowingFileImportProgress, called when showing the progress of the wizard for files. Following properties are used: state, not state key, title, the key of the title to be displayed in the header, or just like the string to display in the header. An object is displayed resource types. So this is interesting. Yeah, instead of, it's going to be displayed file resource types. Straight, optional, progress state. Yeah, that's good. Here, now the state will be hidden. Group state progress. Remain progress. Select group of resource groups is all of the resource groups. I think what we need to do now is to make sure that instead of querying all, we want to query from just this page. Progress page. And then we can get rid of that. And then do something similar down here. Page, file, import progress. Query selector all. Okay, so similar logic. We don't need some of this stuff though. Okay, so state has on property, group hin's false, progress icon, success text. Label span equals span default. So we're not gonna have that, I don't think. If in progress. Otherwise completed. Header. We're gonna just set the header to the state title instead. So header text content equals state title. Don't need that anymore. This is interesting. We're gonna want to now, yeah, done button. We're gonna have to do something different there. So for now, I think I'm just gonna do a to do. We're gonna get the done button through the primary class. Okay. Oh, doesn't like it because we renamed it. Okay. Almost. Where's the title? Apparently there's some stream stuttering. Am I dropping frames? Not really. I've dropped, according to OBS, I've dropped only 295 frames and my network seems to be okay. So I don't know what's going on there. Sorry, I don't actually know. So that's interesting, like the header's not being set. Despite the fact that I'm pretty sure we are sending... Where in the world? How come the little menu isn't appearing? Have I broken it again? Okay, well, how come the title isn't being set? Header.textContent equals state.title. Let's use the debugger then. Importing passwords. And what's header? Progress header. Oh, that's why. Wrong ID. Wrong ID. Progress header is for the other one. We want the file import progress header. Okay, so we can get rid of this breakpoint now. Okay. Passwords. And so we want the story to say that whenever importing passwords is done, passwords imported successfully. Let's copy that string. So is this the right idea? Sorry. So the user has selected, say, like file import like this. They choose their file, and it's like do checking file for passwords. Looks right. And then something occurs, like success. Ba-da! Hooray! Yes, and then we could potentially have this link for a detailed import summary on this page, which is handy. That looks right. Now, there are some error states here that we might need to handle. Weren't able to read the selected file. Or the file doesn't include any valid password data. That's tricky. So we almost need to like ensure that it's a CSV file before we try to import from it. Or like ensure that it contains at least some passwords before we try and import it. Okay. Now, does this model work for bookmarks as well? I think so, because we can set a different title, and we can set different strings here. The imported, the report here, view detailed import summary. I don't know what that would be just yet, like where that would send the user, but like maybe that's something I can sort of dig out by talking to UX or product. Maybe they have something in mind. But I think we've got something that kind of works here. So let's try and use this now. So the user chooses to import a file. And so instead of saying update progress, I think I'm going to say update file progress. And then in the child, migration wizard child, update progress. Switch message.name case update progress. Break case update file import progress. Then we want to set title, pages file import progress. CSV. Send a title. Test 1. Test 2. All right. Let's see what that looks like if I restart and take a look. There must be some defined format of the exported CSV, right, that contains the passwords and bookmarks. Yeah, there must be. There must be. Let's see if CSV login CSV import finds class to import login related. All the CSV column names we convert to lowercase file. So how does it work? Import from CSV. It will read the file and then it will parse the CSV and it will look at the header line and it will try and map the headers to particular column names. And the column names it's looking for are CSV column to field map is field to CSV. So it's trying to map, use these for the headers. It will accept these as the headers and use that to try and map. So it looks like it will accept a couple of different formats based, and it's what it's going to pay attention to is that first line in the CSV file to sort of dictate which columns it cares about, which is kind of interesting. Okay, let's see what happens. So if I go into settings, import data, let's choose passwords from a CSV file, documents, example passwords. We got to test 2, but no strings there. And what's the problem? These are spurious. That's not related. Success progress. Oh, I think I know why. So file migrators, it needs to pass in, instead of displayed, it's going to be displayed file resource types. Let's try that again. Okay, so I think we have the mechanism that we need. We do need to like figure out this done button business. So let's do that now. That's gonna require us to update some tests too, unfortunately. Okay, done button, done button, done button. So instead of ID of done button, we're going to use a class of done button because we're going to have a few different places where we'll have a done button. And instead of selecting just the one, we're going to do a query selector all done button for let button of done buttons. Add an event listener. Then query selector progress page, query selector done button. If event or event target class list that contains done button. There, that wasn't that hard. I see some styling. Oh yeah, done, just done buttons. All right. So I think there might be some tests that need to be updated now as well. Done button. Under migration, browser do migration. Yeah, shadow query selector. So we're gonna have to do some changes here. Browser, do migration, done button. Instead of getting just the first done button we can find, we need to get the pages done button. What's the easiest way to get the current page of the deck? Deck. Selected view name. Is there like a reference that I can selected view name on the deck? Can I just get the selected view? Not really, eh? All right. Oh, I see. Like if I take a look at this deck. This page is in slot selected. Right, but I think we can be a little more precise instead of just doing that. Let's get the page. Shadow query selector. In this case, this is the page progress page, and then we're gonna do page, or even better, we can do like page progress done button, something like that. Is there another done button in here? Yeah. And this is also on the progress page. Page progress done button. Over here, page progress done button. So that should fix browser do migration, and I think there was another one. Migration. This one only runs on Windows, unfortunately, so I'll have to test that separately. But presumably this, yeah, there was only ever one done button before, so we can assume all of these are referring to the progress page one. Page progress. And then this guy. Query selector. That's on the progress page, so we can just do that. All right, so let's see if what happens with these tests now. I'm gonna shut this down. Let's start with the basic component tests. Why not just .done button? There should only be one. Because there are now two. There are two done buttons. There's one on the page for like normal browser import progress, one here, and then there's one down here as well for file import progress. There can only be one. Very good. I don't know if that answers your question or if I'm answering your question properly, Jamie NK123. Let me know. Let me know. Test, 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 test. All right, we've got some failing tests. That's cool. Browser do migration. Can't access power to click on done button. Done button is null on 142. Browser do migration. Done button. Page progress. Why would that be? All right, let's examine that. We'll only run this one. And then we'll put a debugger right here. And we'll run browser do migration with JS debugger. Both dialogues load on the same page. I'm not entirely certain what we're talking about, Jamie and Kay. We're using a class. There are 2 done buttons. They're separate pages. There's one for browser import progress and one for file import progress. So I'm not entirely certain what you're asking. Let me know. I'm eager to answer your question as best I can, but I don't fully understand. Huh. We didn't even hit our debugger. Can't oh, did I get the wrong line? 142. Whoops. Wrong line. Let's put it here. Jamie and Kay is like, I get it. Excellent. Jamie and Kay, high five. All right, so here we are. What's shadow query selector page progress done button? So that there's nothing there. It's not there for some reason. Now, why is that? Page progress. Oh, what are we? What's the wizard open or close shadow root query selector div. There's, yeah, query selector page progress. Let's get query selector all div. There's one. Oh, because it's not got the ID of page progress. It's got the name of page progress. That's why. Yes. It doesn't, named deck doesn't use IDs. It uses, the name attribute. So let's go back. We're gonna need to maybe put this in single quotes. Okay, page progress. Everywhere where we use that ID is no good. Get rid of that. Get rid of, where's the debugger? Get rid of that. So now I think this test will pass. Let's see. Very good. Okay, and what was the other test that we were just manipulating? We had a big list. Browser. So this one, which actually doesn't run on this machine, because it's a Mac, and this test is I think it's Windows specific, unless I'm wrong. And I built this to run. Did we make this run on non-Windows as well, i.e. Edge? Oh, it does. Good. Yeah, that one's not platform specific. Technically, it can run. Very nice. Very nice. So we'll make sure that one also runs. And what was the other place? Safari permissions. this here. And then test migration wizard. Now this one was already doing the right thing, so I think we should be good here. So let's run the entire directory of tests again for the browser Moki tests, and then we'll do the Chrome Moki tests, and then I think we're in pretty decent shape, at least for this particular variation. So I failed. Oh, in file migration, of course. So I had written a test for file migration, and it's expecting the progress page, but not the. So good. I can work with this. So test file migration. Get a dummy migrator. Yeah. Success state. We expect displayed file resource types. Displayed file resource types. Then we do dummy file, all this stuff to make the test work, and then select the dummy file migrator. Assert that the page is file import progress, and then let's get the page. Let page equal shadow.query selector all div name equals page file import progress. Might be able to break that up. Just do no. Do that. This test might pass now. Let's see. File migration. What's nice about this is because of the way things have been separated, we've been able to do this relatively simple change and not have to like change the behavior of like the actual file migrator. Really, the actual importing of files has been mostly the same. Like this has been separated and architected in a way that allowed this change to mean that I don't have to worry about like breaking how CSV import works, like as a whole. This is just about the UI that kicks it off. Good. And like the Chrome Moki test, this should also pass. We are going to need some new tests for this new page. That all passed. All right, I think we're in good shape. Right now we're passing the words test 1 and test 2, I think. We're going to want to change that. But I think we've got enough here to amend. And let's see if we can not pass those test strings and instead pass something meaningful. So let's say update progress. We're going to say migrator, file migrator dot progress string. How do I want to do this? Let progress string success string progress header string success header string equal, like we want to get the strings all at once. I've seen us do this. We have another place where we do this, where we like format value Okay. Document L10N format values. And instead of, we're going to use G fluent strings, lazy G fluent strings. Format values, and then we're going to have a thing on the file migrator that's like progress header string L10N ID, and then success header L10N ID. And we'll have that be passed here. And then here. Okay, and now we need to define these two things on the file migrator. Get progress header L10N ID, return. So we're gonna need wizard.ftl. Migration passwords from file progress header equals, what was it? Oh, see, it changes the header for this too. Like, that's kind of annoying. I'm gonna have to do something about the selection page. Importing passwords was that one, and then what was it called? Like, we want maybe one for success. And get success header L10N ID. That's not the file picker title. Whoops. Not file picker title. Migration passwords from file progress title, and then success title, progress title, success title, and then, or maybe it shouldn't be title, it should be header to be more consistent. Header, and then I know these use title, but that's because I'm picking up that convention from the about logins thing, and maybe I should converge on using header everywhere. But I guess no, these are titles. They're not headers. This is part of what's shown inside the file picker, so that's fine. The string to display in success, the success case is this. So I'll put that here. Let's build this and see what happens. When you search your history, it doesn't search the cached page contents. Wouldn't that be useful? Maybe that's why history and cache might go together. I know that's out of scope. When you search your history, it doesn't search the cached page contents. It doesn't. Jamie NK writes, when you search your history, it doesn't search the cached page contents. Wouldn't that be useful? I think what you're talking about is full page indexing. Like the actual content of the page indexing as part of like search from the awesome bar. Yeah. So that's not even really related to the network cache. That's about actually doing full page indexing. And that's a thing that we've thought about. There are some add-ons that will do that for you, that will like send your current pages to like a local Elasticsearch or something. We've tinkered with this idea, and we might explore it in the future, but I think we've currently got bigger fish to fry. But that is an idea we have explored and are interested in, because yeah, that would that could result in richer, more relevant details in what shows up in the awesome bar. We have some interest in doing this. Couldn't find message. Did I do this wrong? Missing message. Did I overwrite something? Oh, shoot. I may have overwritten something. Hang on. Trying to think of other stuff to import. Sure. Go for it. File bugs under the migration component. We'll consider it. Yeah, I need to put this back. And this I screwed up here. Okay, so progress header, I'm gonna put this back. These should go over here. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Do import headers for CSV need to be covered by translation? I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong. This is a little bit outside of my lane. Like the CSV import stuff is like this is part of like the credential management team, their work, and it looks like what we're trying to do is importing from specific, oh, I see, from Firefox, Bitwarden, and Chrome CSV files. So this is what we're trying to support right now. And I would be surprised if those headers are translated or localized. So if you use I don't know, the Chinese version of Bitwarden, for example, I suspect that the CSV headers will still have the same strings. I sure hope so, because that sort of thing, while CSVs are supposed to be relatively human readable, I also suspect that the primary use case for CSV files for password export and import are for machine reading. And so if you have suddenly to deal with localized headers, you're in for a bad time. Suddenly there's like a huge explosion in the stuff that you need to like look for and translate in the headers, and in for a bad time. Okay, I think I'm almost ready to wrap this stream up, but we've made some good progress here. I think we've got ourselves more or less into the equivalent state that we started in, except that we have this new page. Hooray! That's good. So I'm going to be continuing to work on that. The next thing is to add like bookmarks import support. So that'll be like adding a new file migrator and implementing this stuff. Oh, I need to like return, I need to throw here and document these. Must be overwritten to do. Whoops. So I need to document those. And then implement one for bookmarks as well, which will ultimately just wrap the same mechanism that we use in the library for importing bookmarks, I think. I hope that was interesting. Hey, if you're interested in helping us test the new migrator, we've had, a lot of our students work really, really hard on it, but there are still things that could be going wrong with it. And so let us know if you see anything that looks like a serious usability issue, or if you have, oh, this is breaking, this is obviously not performing correctly. You can turn on the new migration wizard in Nightly by flipping this preference, browser migrate content modal enabled to true. There's, I'll put that in the agenda here. To true. Is there a keyboard shortcut for this? Keyboard to true. And then you can also fiddle with some of these as well. You can also disable and enable various migrators. They're all enabled by default, but they won't be listed if we can't find them on your machine. And then, if file bugs if you see any. So thanks for watching episode 320 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was interesting. Thanks for all the participation inside of the channel, the live hacking channel and the Twitch stream chat and whatnot. That was great. It was great to see everyone. I want to especially thank the people who are chatting, like Crushed Optimist, Jamie NK123, Smurf D, Danny Colin, Fireglow, not Ironic Bulldog, who was a spammer, Eli Does Stuff, who is learning to code right now, and seeing how you work is very eye-opening. Hey, thanks for watching. I don't know if you're still watching Eli Does Stuff IG, but thanks for watching. I hope this is interesting. I'm glad you're learning to code, and I'm happy to show you what it's like making the sausage. Let me know what you thought. If you have thoughts on this episode, you can click on the link in the agenda to rate this episode. I read everything that comes in. If you have questions or comments or anything, I'll read them all. But obviously don't be abusive. That's one of the names of the game here. I am opening up myself to abuse by just sort of like telling the world, what do you think of me? But I'm willing to take that on in this format. Again, thanks for watching episode 320. I hope you have a great week, and hopefully I will see you next week. So without further ado, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.